There are hundreds of varieties of agave, and humans have been cultivating many of them for thousands of years. Today, one of the most sought-after species of agave is Agave Utahensis, the most cold-hardy agave in the world. Plant nerds like myself climb snowy mountains thousands of feet just to see them in the wild, and super cool streetwear boutiques in Asia sell them for thousands of dollars. In this video, I'm going to dig into some of my favorite things about my favorite plant, Agave Utahensis. Agave is a monocarpic species, meaning it flowers once in its life and then dies. And Agave Utahensis, like most agave, is very slow growing, taking between 10 and 20 years to reach its full flowering age. And when it begins to flower in the spring, it sends up a stalk that can grow more than 10 feet in a single season. In fact, I've measured them and they can grow more than 6 inches in one day. As it uses its stored energy for flowering and seed production, the plant itself below turns yellow and dries out. Agave Utahensis also reproduces vegetatively through the production of offset plants. These genetically identical pups tend to outlive their parent plant and remain after it has flowered and died. In the wild, huge clonal rings can be seen as generation after generation of plants produce offsets, flower, die, and dry up. The largest of these could be decades or perhaps centuries old. In North and Central America, agave has been cultivated for more than 7,000 years. Agave Utahensis was a key food source for indigenous tribes throughout its range, including the southern Paiute and the Anasazi in the Las Vegas Valley. In the spring, as flowering began, mature Utahensis plants were harvested and roasted for days in large earthen roasting pits. These pits were dug into the desert floor, a fire was lit inside of them, and large rocks heated. Agave would be placed into these pits and buried under a layer of dirt. 2 days later, they'd be dug up, and would have turned into a sweet, carb-loaded meal tasting something like molasses or sweet potato. Dense populations of very old clumps of Agave Utahensis are found right next to these roasting pits, suggesting that indigenous people not only collected them wild, but may have actually cultivated them as a crop. Utahensis grows almost exclusively on limestone. Sometimes it can be found on sandstone though, in mountainous areas between approximately 4,000 and 7,000 feet in elevation. A large portion of its habitat is in the Spring Mountain Range, a sky island thousands of feet above the Mojave Desert. It is the most cold-hardy of all the agave species, and it's the most northern dwelling. Many of its populations occur in areas that see significant snowfall in the winter. One of the first things people notice when they see Agave Utahensis in habitat is its amazing variability. Plants growing right next to each other can look totally different. And because of that variation, its taxonomy has been a shifting set of subspecies and varieties since it was first described. But basically, there are 4 groups of Agave Utahensis. Subspecies kaibabensis, which only grows in Arizona around the Grand Canyon. Plain old subspecies Utahensis, which grows in southern Utah, northern Arizona, southern California, and Nevada. And the 2 Instagram favorite varieties, eborispina and nevadensis. Those 2 varieties are differentiated from kaibabensis and Utahensis by their longer and more elaborate spines and teeth. Nevadensis occurs to the south of eborispina in Nevada and California and generally has more of a blue color.